Hey, it's Nate from Navigator Bookkeeping, and I'm here today to talk to you about 3 easy steps you can take to implement Profit First in your private practice or group practice. So, you are a practice owner and you've read Profit First, or maybe you've read Profit First for Therapists. Both great books, both great reads. But what we've seen with a lot of clients is these can be very overwhelming, right? You've been managing your money, doing your thing in kind of your normal process, and all of a sudden you read this book and it tells you, hey, everything that you know, we want you to do it differently. We want to have all these bank accounts, we want you to make all these transfers. And that can feel really overwhelming, right? Because you're like, well, my system's been okay, it's not great. I want some change to happen. But moving to a whole new system where I have money in multiple bank accounts, I have to make these transfers. How often do I make those transfers? What are the amounts on those? If you're trying to just do that all on your own, it can feel like a lot, feel pretty overwhelming. So I'm going to give you a structure to use to start Profit First now. Now, this is not going to get to full implementation of Profit First, but what it's going to get you to is on the road to that, and it's going to get you to hitting those savings goals sooner rather than later. I always think with Profit First, let's just start now and get moving rather than sitting in inaction and not getting anything done and not building our savings, right? So we're not just going to start out 100% pedal to the floor, go right away, but we're at least going to get started, and we're going to do it in a little bit more of a manageable way, a way that maybe feels a little bit more doable, manageable, and it's going to start building your savings now and get you into the Profit First mindset so that as you go, you can get into the full Profit First implementation as well. I run Profit First for my business, Navigator Bookkeeping. We're a Profit First certified firm. We run it with many of our clients. So I'm giving you tips that we've used with these clients. And I love Profit First. Like I said, I've been running it in my own business. I love it. I think it's a great system. So I think you should try it. I think you should use these 3 steps to kind of get started on it and see how you feel about it. And then you can go from there. So here's our 3 steps. The first step is you're going to open your bank accounts. And if you read Profit First or Profit First for Therapists, this is the same step number 1 that they would have you do. You're going to want to pick a bank that's going to have a probably no minimum fee. So basically, these accounts are going to get down to 0 at times or close to 0. You don't want a fee to come in if you're below a minimum balance. So that's kind of the first option. Try to find a fee-free bank. And with interest rates where they are right now, I'm talking to you at the beginning of 2024, interest rates are pretty high in savings accounts. You probably want to find an account that has a decent savings interest rate as well. Now, that should not exclude banks just because they have a lower interest rate, but just something to think about. QuickBooks Checking is a relatively new system. They're offering 5% interest right now, and they have been for a while. So you could find a bank like that that's virtual only, makes transfers easily. It has some odd wrinkles to it, to be honest, but it does give you 5% interest. It's something to check out. Otherwise, you can check out Relay, which is an online-only bank, which is the official bank of Profit First. So it works well with that system. Or you can just go with your current bank that you're using, whether that's kind of a big box bank like a Chase, or whether it's a local bank as well. So you're going to set up those bank accounts. Now, if you're reading Profit First, you're going to set up 5 bank accounts. With what I'm talking to you right now, we're just going to set up 2 to 3 instead. We're going to go a little bit slower, okay? We're just going to start slow, go from there. So you're just going to open 2 to 3 accounts. And what these accounts are going to be is they're going to be your profit account, your tax account, or what we'd call your tax savings account, and then an emergency savings account as well. And we're going to start with those 3 just to get us building the savings muscle and getting into the Profit First mindset. Again, this is not a full Profit First implementation, but what I've seen with clients is that oftentimes starting slow and building up is a lot better system than just going full into it and getting overwhelmed and then quitting because it's a tough system to get used to. So we're going to open those 3 accounts: profit, tax, and emergency savings. In Profit First language, we'd call that emergency savings vault. So you can call it vault if you want. You can call it emergency savings if you want. Doesn't really matter. We're going to open those. First step. Easy. Okay? Might be annoying to talk to the bank. It's okay. If you don't like talking to people, do the virtual Relay or QuickBooks Checking. Go that route. Step number 2. We're going to just start doing some transfers just to get into the mindset, get into the muscle memory of doing it. Okay? So what I would advise you to do is start with a really small percentage of your revenue going into these accounts. So that can be 1%. You could even do a 0.5%, but I think 1's nice. It's easy. The math's easy. It's very straightforward. So what you're going to do is at the end of every pay period, or you can do it at the end of either of every month. Doesn't matter how often you want to do it. For a lot of private practices, it does make sense to do it with kind of the pay period structure, because then after you've paid everybody, you're kind of doing these transfers at the same cadence. So let's say you're doing it every 2 weeks, right? Pay period structure. So what you're going to do is for those 2 weeks, you're going to figure out how much money came into the business as far as what was just deposited in your account. So you can go to your bank and just run a quick filter and figure out how many deposits we can have. You can go super low tech and just count up your deposits in the bank feed from your bank's website. Or if you run a report in QuickBooks, as long as everything is classified correctly, you can find in there pretty easily what your deposits looked for that period of time. So you're going to find out what your deposits are. Let's just to make it super easy, let's just say that you had $1,000 in deposits. Okay, very easy, $1,000 over a 2-week period. Probably not what you're shooting for, but we're just talking easy math here. Okay, you can use 10,000 for your example instead if you want to make it easy. So we're going to take that $1,000 and now we're going to say, okay, we want 1% of 1,000 to go to our tax. We want 1% of 1,000 to go to our profit, and we want 1% of 1,000 to go to our vault/savings. Okay, so you're going to make those transfers happen. You can just transfer it between your banks. You've now done your first transfers. It's that easy. Now, what I would say is you should record what you've done. So just have a really simple spreadsheet and just on the left say pay period, and then just have your 3 accounts and just write out how much you transferred to each of those, each pay period, and just keep track of it. And what you're going to use this for is this is going to help us kind of see your progress, see how much you've saved over time. And you're just going to repeat this process every 2 weeks or whatever your pay period structure is. Or like I said, some people do this monthly, so you can do it monthly. But you're just going to do this. Keep setting that 1% aside into these different accounts. And what you're going to see, it's not going to be a lot of money unless your practice is large. But what you're going to see is you're going to see those accounts growing pretty fast, right? Before you had nothing in savings. Now you have a couple $100s in a couple different accounts, and that's building up fast. And what that's doing is that's changing your mindset, right? Because if an emergency happens now, if a clinician leaves, if referrals drop off, something like that happens, you have savings built up that can help you out. That vault account can come in and cover your operating expenses for a short period of time. If you have a tax bill come up or you're ready to pay your estimates, that tax account can pay those estimates for you. The profit account, that's half savings and it's half a bonus for you. What you're going to do with that account is every quarter, after the quarter finishes, you're going to take half of that profit account and distribute it out to yourself as a bonus. So quarters, right? January, February, March. As soon as March is done, April 1st, you're going to take half of that profit account, send it to yourself. And what you're going to do with that money is you're going to do something fun with that money. You're not going to put it back into the account. You're not going to pay some bills. I mean, unless things are urgent, that's you got to do what you got to do. But you're going to do something fun with that to reward yourself for implementing profit first, to reward yourself for taking the risk of running a business, okay? We've had clients make that their vacation fund, right? So they use that money. They went on vacation with that money, and they got to go on a great vacation that they would not have been able to afford or felt like they could afford because before that, right? Me personally, with my profit account, I've done some silly things. I bought an espresso machine, make espresso for our family every morning with that, make lattes. Did I need that? No, but it was a super fun thing that's added a lot of joy and hospitality to our house. You can do all kinds of things with that. Travel, go out to a nice dinner, whatever you want to do. But don't just put it towards bills. Do something that's memorable that you're going to remember. So you think, wow, that profit account funded that. My business funded that because I did profit first. You want to feel that reward and see that reward. And that's going to help you get motivation to keep going in the system. So step 1, open the bank accounts. Step 2, start the transfers. Do that 1% over time. Track it and see how it goes. And then step 3, we're just going to kind of analyze where we are, right? Now you can do this with a Profit First certified firm. They can do a little bit of a more formalized assessment. But if you're watching this, I'm guessing you're kind of like, hey, I'm just going to DIY this right now. Do it yourself. Okay, I was like, did I do the acronym wrong there? No, DIY. You're going to DIY it. You're just going to watch it, see the transfers happen, and see where you go. And what you're going to do is you're going to kind of see, how does this 1% feel? Do I feel like these accounts are kind of growing slowly, right? You're eventually going to want that tax account to cover all of your estimated tax payments and cover your year-end tax payment as well. So that tax account is going to need to be a little bit more robust. 1% is not going to do it. You might need that account to get all the way up to 10%, 15%, somewhere around there at some point, depending on your practice. That profit account, we're going to want that to get up to 5% eventually, so that that account is growing and building savings, and you're getting great distributions out of that quarterly. And that vault account, we're going to want that to be somewhere probably between 2 to 5%, depending on your business. We're eventually going to want that to have at least 3 months of your operating expenses and your payroll in it, so that if something happens, you have time to make a decision. You're not rushed into making that, but you're ready to go. You lose 3 clinicians at the same time for some crazy reason. Cool. We have 3 months of payroll saved up. That gives us time to hire at least some of those positions back and make some decisions instead of rushing to a line of credit or to a credit card right away. So that's where we're trying to get to eventually, right? And these 3 steps are going to get you there. These are all easy to do. Open the bank accounts, start making the transfers, and then track and analyze those transfers that you've done and just see how it feels and think about it. Just every month, take a look at that, see, how do I feel about this? 1%, it's kind of going slow. Maybe I want to bump it to 2%. Or vice versa. Let's say you bumped it up kind of fast, you're at 5%, you're like, cash is kind of tight in this operating account. I need to bump this down a little bit. And again, this is where it is nice to have a conversation with somebody else who knows profit first. But this is the beginning, right? This is where we're starting. And then as you grow and as you build, maybe you get up to that point where now you start working with someone who can consult with you and answer some of those questions. But if you're not starting this, you're never going to get up to that next phase. So these are the first 3 steps. Start these out, see how they feel, and let us know in the comments how this went. Let us know how you felt. Let us know how it felt to take that first profit distribution. And I think you're going to really like this. I think it's going to change how you think about Profit First and think about your business. So I'm excited to hear how this goes, and good luck with Profit First. We'll talk soon.